Bearcat Bounce Podcast, back at it again. As always, it is I, Brett Young, on a beautiful Monday night. It is June 20th. The days are trickling along. Summer is here upon us. And that means it's also Monday night, which means I'm joined by my two good pals, my two good friends, two good partners in crimes when it comes to Bearcat sports. That would be Aaron Smith and Chad Brendel. Aaron, Chad, how are we?
Only one of us this week, Brent.
Whoa. Chad took his talents out west. But Aaron, how are we? We gotta ask you first. How are we?
I'm doing all right. Got some stuff done. Cleaned out a garage today and got some stuff done in the yard and what have you. So, nice productive day.
Wow, proud of you. Well, Chad did take his talents out to the West Coast. He is on the week, much deserved vacation, if you will. But I wouldn't be half surprised if he bops in here at some point throughout the night. But in his place, I tell you what, a special guest on this here Danco Transmission Bearcat Bounce podcast, joined by none other than Andre Morgan, assistant basketball coach for your Cincinnati Bearcats. Coach Morgan, how are we?
I'm great, man. That was a fantastic intro, by the way. I appreciate that.
Well, I was going to dive even further. I was going to go, deep into the heart of like Buford High School's finest, the pride of Kennesaw State, North Georgia College. I was going to really dive deep, but I mean, we're going to save that for the pod itself. But
okay.
Welcome on, Coach. We're excited to have you.
I appreciate you guys having me. Thank you.
Absolutely. Well, first off, of course, also got to mention Happy Father's Day to you, Coach. Happy Father's Day to Chad, all the fathers out there. Aaron, coming up real soon.
Yeah, next month.
Next month, weeks away. Aaron's getting ready to have his first kid. And you know what? I am childless, but happy Father's Day to you guys. Did you get anything at all yesterday, Coach? I know it's busy for you guys right now, but were you able to spend Sunday with the kids?
Actually, no. We were on the road recruiting, but as my wife knows, and my kids will soon learn, that's what I do, man. It was a great Father's Day. It was cool, man. Spend it in the gym. Nothing I would want to do more.
There we go. For what it's worth, I had to FaceTime my dad too. He lives down in Florida, so it is what it is. But Aaron, excited to hear as the children get ready to come up. But speaking of childhood, let's dive in. Let's go straight from the beginning with Coach Morgan. If you do your homework a little bit, you'll find out that Coach was born in Chicago, spent some time in Texas, moved to Georgia, I believe, in the 8th grade.
That's pretty good.
Through all of that, you'll come out and you'll say that you called Georgia home, I believe, Atlanta in particular, Buford High School, the all-time leading scorer of Buford High School. I don't know if that still stands or if some other beast came up and took over, but Atlanta Celtics, we're talking Dwight Howard, we're talking Josh Smith, Morris, the list goes on and on. But now you're starting to see a little bit of infiltration of the Georgia feel to the basketball program. Coach, when did you decide, or when did you start to feel in your childhood that, hey, Georgia could be a hotbed and something that I want to keep a lifelong connection with?
Well, first off, I'll say this. That's unbelievable research. That's big time impressive. So I got to start off by saying that. But
20.3 points, 10.1 rebounds, state semifinals, 23-8 record. That's the easy thing to find. But yeah,
that's pretty good. That is pretty good. Well, I guess to answer your question, when I was in high school, I wasn't familiar prior to entering high school how good Georgia basketball was. Kind of coming from Texas to Georgia. Texas had a ton of players at the time, and then I come to Georgia, and it was, arguably, I guess maybe the beginning of a great era of Georgia basketball. Not to kind of knock the guys prior, but it was, receiving more notoriety nationally with, like you just mentioned, the Dwight Howards. He was a guy who played on the older AAU team of the Atlanta Celtics. And, Josh Smith, Randolph Morris, that was considered, at the time to be, I guess, the best AAU team maybe ever. And then in my class, we had guys like Lewis Williams. He was a phenom. And the list goes on and on from Jody Meeks to Gani Wall. There's a ton of names of guys who had kind of came up during that time. And so I guess that kind of sparked my interest in, following Georgia basketball. And, it's been pretty good to me throughout my career. So
Was Lou checking out Magic City at that point, or?
I don't know much about that place. So
diving right into it from the get-go, huh? Good chicken wings is all we're going to say on that.
Chicken wings, I hear they're great, man. I hear they're great.
Yeah, I'm going to say no comment.
Neither confirm nor deny. Well played.
Yeah.
But you did end up going to Kennesaw State out of high school. I don't know if you knew, but you were, as a sophomore, 19th in the country in steal percentage, according to KenPom. Congratulations. That's a pretty high quality right there. And then you did decide to transfer North Georgia.
Yes.
Kind of, you don't have to talk about the inner things that went into that, but having that ability to know what it's like to transfer from one school to the other, kind of like what Wes Miller also has at his disposal as well. How have you seen just the ability to adapt to two different teams and go from one team to the next? How has that translated now with this new landscape of college sports, of the transfer portal and things of that sort?
Yeah, I guess I was kind of, ahead of the time a little bit in being a college transfer. But I had great experiences at both schools. And so I played for two great head coaches. One passed away, Coach Tony Engel, but he was a mentor of mine. Chris Faulkner, he was a mentor of mine as well. And so I guess it allows me to kind of give, perspective to kids in terms of what they're feeling, what they're kind of going through in terms of the process of going through that, because it is different the second time around. It goes a lot faster. It's a lot more intense. And so I like to think that it's helped me kind of be ready for the transfer market a little bit. So I do use it with families for sure.
Fair enough. Now from there, you transitioned from player to coach as you entered into the coaching regime at Young Harris College under Pete Herman. Now, what made that decision easy for you, or was it even an easy decision to go from player to coach at that point in your life?
No, well, coaching is something I wanted to do since I was probably, 4 or 5 years old. I thought I was a coach, when I was, witnessing my dad be a college basketball coach. I was trying to coach his players at the age of like 5 and 6, 4 or 5. And so I've always had a passion for it. And so after completing my playing career, a few smaller opportunities kind of presented itself for me to go play overseas. But the itch to, start, in the profession and kind of dive in head first was too much to kind of pass up on. So I went ahead and took the dive, and here we are today.
Well, talk a little bit. Well, first off, one last question on your playing career. Did you have a bit of an identity crisis on the court? Because you'd go out and score 35 and 28, but yet still be like 19th in the country and steal percentage. Were you trying to do, all of it at once, or who was Andre Morgan, the player?
Andre Morgan, the player, was I take a lot of pride in trying to be, I like our guys to be tough, and I thought that I was, had a little bit of toughness as a basketball player, but I played with great players, and they made me look good. They put me in situations to be successful. And so I, scoring X amount of points, run around with my head cut off, trying to steal the ball all the time. I just played with good guys who put me in good situations. 35
and then followed up with 28 the next game. I mean, coach, that's a lot of points right there as a true freshman.
My teammates were great. They didn't tell me stupid freshman pass the ball. That okay. So I kept shooting it. So it was a cool experience.
That works out.
Hey, Brent. All right. You're all over it, man. By the way, hey, I want you to make sure you tell our staff that, because there's like a running joke between our staff.
I'm sure there is.
Coach Roberts will laugh. Coach Dollar will laugh. So when you see them, I want you to, repeat those stats. That's pretty impressive.
Well, I mean, we hear that Stowe goes out there and he's still looking like he can play, and Thielen just looks like he looks, So we'll give him that side. But aside from that, and then DeMar is just DeMar. So
no doubt,
coach.
No doubt.
And I heard also Wes said he could make like 50 straight or like only missed 2 or 3 shots from the top of the key if he shot 53s in a row. I was like, all right. So I mean, a lot of high lofty goals out of this these former players, now coaches. But yeah, I'll be happy to spill the stats on everyone. But no worries, no worries. Let's get back into the coaching side though. Pete Herman is a coach that Aaron just mentioned. An Elite Eight, and then Coach David Robinson as well. And of course, just what he had to instill in you, and then Jared Haas as well as another coach who's now you're with him at UAB. He's now at Stanford. Just kind of all these different coaches that you were able to kind of take different things from here and there. What has that really brought to you as far as now this step of your, I'd say probably the biggest step of your career right now as an assistant with Cincy?
Sure. I mean, I'll start it with Pete. That was the guy who gave me my first opportunity, Pete Herman. And he was, he's a coaching legend. You kind of hit on it. He coached David Robinson at Navy, and he had a long career as a high-level assistant basketball coach in Division I basketball. But I think when I started working for him, he was about 64 years old, and I could not believe the amount of energy he had for just doing every part of the job. The dude worked relentlessly every single day to build that program. And so I think one of the things I probably took from him the most was probably hard work. He taught me what it really meant to be a hard-working assistant. We didn't rest a lot. I was okay with that. I enjoy when it's hard. And so we had hard times, but it also led to really good times, kind of on the court. And so, Jared Haas, he's, an unbelievable human being, a great basketball coach, but, in terms of being a dad, as well as basketball coach, understanding the balance between the two, I don't know if I've had a better example. Not to say those other guys didn't provide good examples, but he was so elite at treating people the right way, being able to, again, kind of balance the work between being a college basketball head coach and also having a family that he cared about dearly. And so that's kind of something I've taken with me. And, I worked for other guys along the way. Happy Osborne, he's actually from, across the river in Kentucky. Mm-hmm. And he had an unbelievable winning percentage, and he was a relentless recruiter. He kind of, was one of the guys on the cutting edge of, recruiting transfers just at a lower level. He was kind of known for that. And so learned a lot from him. Chuck Terzell, unbelievable basketball coach, the most organized person I've ever been around. Nick McDevitt, another really bright basketball mind who, kind of had me look at, the basketball piece from a different lens, kind of being with him after working with Coach Miller the first time. And now I'm with Coach Miller, and, kind of what I would say to, anybody who's watching, and I tell everybody this, he's insanely impressive. He's like, I can't tell people enough. I worked with Coach Miller for 2 years at, UNC Greensboro, and we had a ton of success together. And I thought he got better every single day. It was really, really impressive. And he challenged everybody around him to get better, every single day. He's insane about it. And then I leave him for 3 years, and then I come back and I'm like, man, I can't wait to work with him again because I want him to see how much better I've gotten. And then I was blown away at how much better he had gotten in those short 3 years. Right. And so again, I don't know another word for it. He's just insane about the work, the preparation, the growth, that a basketball player experiences, as well as his staff, his coaches and support staff as well.
Well, so you kind of got to my next question, which was going to be transitioning into your first stint with Coach Miller. And you were with him at UNCG for 2 years, as you said, from 16 to 18. And he, at that point, was about halfway through his UNCG stint.
Yeah.
So 52 and 18 during your time there, yep, which is rather impressive. But what was he really like during that stage? He wasn't in the beginning stage. He wasn't in his end game at UNCG, and you've already talked about how he's improved vastly. But what was it kind of like in the day in, day out there with him at that point in time, kind of compared to what it is now?
What was he like on a day-to-day? If you know Coach Miller well, he's always trying to find, ways to, again, improve, continue to grow. And so he was trying to do that at a crazy rate. He was working on himself as a basketball. He was reading a ton of books. He was recruiting at an insane, rate. He was watching every single minute of every single practice. And I was thinking, man, how does this dude do all this? And then now I come back with him, and he's put even more on top of it in terms of pouring into the Cincinnati community, pouring into our guys, our new guys on the roster. He spends an insane amount of time with them, whether it be watching film, spending time with them, just hanging out, off the court. And so, you talk about growth, like he's the example of, like, you can't grow enough, no matter how good you get, no matter what job, what your title or status is, he doesn't put a cap on his growth as a person, as a basketball coach. And so, to kind of see that after working with him the first time was cool. And a lot of people don't know this. There was a lot of, I guess you can say, struggle, when I kind of, started to work with him the first time. We were coming off, a couple of years where he didn't have success. And so, again, I wasn't with him these years prior when he didn't have success at UNC Greensboro, but I can imagine kind of where he started at and how he worked to grow every single day, and, the impact that had on them being successful, at the time. Sorry, my phone keeps ringing.
It's recruiting time. We get it.
And so I say all that to kind of, talk about, us as a team, and, his, he's crazy about, making this team grow, making sure that we continue to get just a little bit better every single day. And I'm hopeful that the fans see that on the court this season.
Well, it obviously created a bond strong enough to where Wes was able to get the Cincinnati job.
Yeah.
Then how did that kind of break down how it kind of worked out for then all of a sudden you're receiving a phone call? I don't know if it was kind of right away or how it kind of funneled back into that, because obviously you built a connection at UNCG with not only Wes, but Mike Roberts, Chris Lepore, a bunch of other connections out there. How did it kind of come to fruition again that you guys were going to reunite at Cincinnati?
It was it was kind of out of the blue. Like, we'd stay in touch, when we could. He would be busy with his season, I'd be busy with my season. And we were trying to build our roster at that point. But he randomly called me one day and was like, hey, there's a good chance I'm going to go to the University of Cincinnati. And before he could finish, I was like, I'm coming with you. I loved working with him the first time. There wasn't a day where, he didn't challenge me and I didn't enjoy it. And so to work with him again was a complete no-brainer. It wasn't a hard decision at all for me or my family.
Talk about the connection as well with Mike Roberts and Chris Lepore. Obviously Justin Williams had a really good article when you guys, when the staff all came together.
Yeah.
Good friend of the show and a BCJ. So we can talk about Justin and the Athletic all we want here, but a really good article kind of just about, the funny stories that you guys have all created and the bond that you have together. Maybe spill another funny story on top of us that you can say if you may. And then aside from that, kind of just what that bond does, not only off the court, but also on the court.
Yeah. Well, I don't want to say the story because my wife gets mad at me every time I say it, but I'll kind of touch on it a little bit to kind of talk about the bond. But so I'm, our staff is unbelievable. We're extremely close. I've got Mike Roberts back. He's got mine. I got Chris's back. He's got mine. And, it works, all the way around. And Mike had my back pretty big time one time. I was going to a big event, my wedding. Oh. And I forgot, my tux.
Right.
I had a lot going on, a lot of recruiting stuff on my mind. And so
that's a pretty important piece.
Yeah. I forgot my tux, and I called, right away. I didn't think to call my family. I called Mike Roberts. I was like, yo, Mike, hey man, I tried to whisper it. I forgot my tux. And he was like, I'm on it. And so he went on this crazy mission of trying to break into my apartment. He gets the police involved. long story short, he figures out like this is if you know Mike Roberts, like you'll understand like he's the master at figuring stuff out. So he figures it out. Like he's like, all right, I'm gonna get in your apartment. I'm gonna drive down there a couple hours before I'm gonna get you that tux. He obviously did it, and didn't make me look like a complete ass, at my own wedding. But yeah, that's just like an example of how like he's had my back. I can give you 1,000 more, on a day to day, from a friend standpoint, from a professional standpoint, and the same with Chris Lepore. I mean, those guys, like I didn't work with them for 3 years. And our first day back in the office, it felt like I hadn't really, been without them long. And so it was a really cool feeling. It allowed us to kind of hit the ground running and, get some stuff done right away.
So let's go ahead and dive in. You're in Cincinnati, and one thing I'm just gonna read to you. I don't know if you've read this actually or not, but Coach Wes, and it might have been just some coach speak, if you will, because I don't know if he'd say this to your face, but he called you a rising star in the business, outstanding coach, connector, and recruiter, high character addition to our staff, deeply values the development of our players. And then he welcomed you and your family to the Cincinnati family. So obviously some high level words right there. But one word that sticks out to me is that word recruiter, and you kind of touched on it as well with your past coaches that have kind of showed you different ways to approach that. So a two-part question: you go to Cincinnati now, and that takes a step up as far as just tradition and the ability to kind of have players and coaches and everyone kind of know the brand, know the CPAW, know the brand of Cincinnati. What did that kind of do to change your recruiting? And then, of course, what is recruiting like right now in the current landscape of and you don't have to dive too far into this if you don't want to, of the transfer portal and of the NIL and different things of that sort?
Yeah, well, I guess the first part of your question, I'll answer it. The University of Cincinnati, I mean, when I thought about dream jobs, I had, a list of schools that I thought I would love to work at. And when I got here to Cincinnati, it far exceeded everything I thought my dream job had. And so it blew me away from day one. The history, the fan support, the community's love for just Cincinnati, all the above. Everything about this place was just unbelievable. And that was from day one. And so, with that, I like a big challenge. I try to pursue every challenge possible. And so that I thought provided the biggest challenge that I had in my career. So I was really, really excited about that. And kind of, I guess I'll segue that into, today's landscape, from a recruiting standpoint. Like I tell parents, really anybody, prospects, anybody who'll listen, recruiting makes no sense. You just like it's like a wild circus. It really is, right. But I love it. I embrace the circus. Like, I got like a running joke with one of our support staff members. I'm like, man, I love a roller coaster, and recruiting is like the ultimate roller coaster. And so, I love the ups and downs. I love the not knowing. I love the strategy of it, trying to figure it out. And here at Cincinnati, I feel like we can pursue and recruit, the best players in America. And so we're actively trying to do that. We've got challenges like everybody does as, we enter this new world of NIL. But Coach Miller's been unbelievable in terms of being open-minded and aggressive to make sure we're the most competitive team in America and better than most, honestly, in terms of what we can offer and, what our opportunity presents.
Now you bring up recruiting best players in America, and one guy that we haven't talked about on the staff is Chad Dollar, who recruited Anthony Edwards to Georgia. So what have you learned from Chad Dollar working with him as closely as you are?
There's not a list I can even put together. I mean, like every single day I take something from him. Like he's been unbelievable for me in terms of my growth. He makes me feel pretty dumb sometimes in terms of stuff I didn't think about. But he's the best in the country. Like, I don't think there's anybody better in my opinion. And, he's creative. He's ultra aggressive. He's a bulldog, and, in a good way. And,
Sure.
he's really, really savvy in terms of how he approaches each situation differently. And he's also really incorporated, how we can use our entire staff to help us recruit players. And so for me, I can't, it's invaluable, for me and where I'm at in my career to be able to work with somebody like him and pick his brain every single day, whether it be about recruiting, about basketball, about, life, being a father, being a husband. He's incredible. I can't say enough good things about him.
Bulldog, Georgia. I see what you did there.
Yeah, I tried to come up off of the Bulldog.
So you get to Cincinnati, and the roster's in full under construction mode. So that's got to be unlike anything that you've ever had to deal with, a challenge unlike anything that you've had in your past. So take us through what that first month of being a coach at Cincinnati was like as you're scrambling to try and put a team together late in the cycle with a roster of who knows.
Well, it was insane. That's what it was. But it was a big challenge. And Coach Miller said it from day one. He was like, "We got a lot of work to do. We don't have a lot of guys on the roster." And I was like, "Boom! I love a big challenge. Let's do it." So we and obviously, follow the lead of the boss, the CEO, the head coach. And so the head coach was like, "I'm jumping right in." He went to work right away. The dude, he offers me the job, and then he's like in Washington recruiting somebody. He's in Indiana recruiting somebody. I was like, the dude doesn't sleep. He was all in, which, the excitement and the wanting to kind of tackle the challenge made me be all in, even before I even kind of arrived at campus. And so that was it was an interesting time, but Coach Miller just led us through it, honestly, and we were kind of come out, in a pretty good spot. I felt like after that first summer.
So, what were your thoughts then on the team that you were able to put together and how that first season went?
Yeah, it was it was a challenging time because we had good pieces. A lot of those guys are obviously still on the team, and so we just didn't know those guys, and we're trying to figure out on the fly what they did and how they could impact winning, as well as bring in new guys who could impact winning and fit with those current pieces. And it's one thing to watch a guy on tape. We try to watch as much tape as possible, but kind of getting on the ground level with those guys and really learning how they could be successful, what situations we need to put them in, and what we need to put around them. It was like an ever-changing puzzle, and Coach Miller again did a great job. And we hit a tough spot at the end of the year, unfortunately, but I felt like that team did a great job under Coach's direction, and obviously that was the foundation for what we're doing moving forward. And so I'm excited about the future.
I'm going to go a little crazy with this question, but you mentioned roller coaster earlier.
Yeah.
Roller coasters got loops. They've got the hills, little peaks, little valleys.
Oh yeah.
Do you take but when you finish the roller coaster, you get off and you think about the whole thing. You don't think about that very ending was a little crazy, or the beginning was a crazy drop. But no, you think about the whole thing as a whole.
Oh, yeah.
So is that kind of how you guys were able to dissect the season, looking back on it? Kind of hey, we did go to Kansas City and we played against the top teams, top talent in the country, and we more than held our own. We beat Illinois. We challenged these teams all throughout the season. We had big wins as well. We were able to bounce back on this roller coaster when things were down a little bit. Is it kind of a grand picture sort of view when you guys sit down and take a look back?
Yeah, I think we learned a lot about our team, about us as coaches, in terms of where we could all grow, together. And we had success that you kind of hit on, especially in Kansas City. That was a phenomenal win. We had some failure as well. We had some tough times, and that coaster, got a little, rocky,
Yeah, right.
but we learned a lot about our team, about what we needed, how we could improve, kind of moving forward. And again, that foundation was built not on the good times, but those tough times. And I think moving forward, you'll see a different product in terms of how we approach those tough moments, and we continue to build, kind of moving forward a little bit.
So let's talk about the new product that is this year's version of your Cincinnati Bearcats. And you've added a lot of pieces. There's been a lot of transition here, even without a coaching change and all of that. And easiest place to start would be with the new freshman that you've added.
Yeah.
The most hyped freshman is probably Daniel Skillings, and that may be because people aren't hearing enough about Josh Reed yet.
Yeah.
But what can you tell us right now about what you've seen thus far in the 5 days or so that you've had of Daniel Skillings here in Cincinnati?
Well, I like to talk about them as a group because I think they're they're individually everybody can be talked about in different ways, but as a group, I think they all have potential and their ceilings are so high, from Sage to Josh to Dan. I think they all offer different things on the court, and they all in a way kind of complement each other on the court as well. And the really cool part is they're all really close off the court. There's not, I don't know how many meals they've had together. They've been together now right at a week, but it seems like they're always together, which is really, really cool, especially for those incoming freshmen as they get acclimated and whatnot. And so, I think they haven't gone through a college practice yet. They're learning how to go to class and then go to a workout and then go to weights. And then, they're still learning, but they're a joy to be around. They're all really good people, off the court. They're a joy to coach, on the court. And, they'll experience some ups and downs, their own kind of roller coaster a little bit. But, I'm excited about their futures, all three of them.
Well, Coach, you gotta give us a little bit more. The people want to know, out on the recruiting trail, what did you see in a young Dan Skillings? What did Josh Reed do? Did Sage Tolentino show up on campus a little bit bulkier than you imagined? Like, give us a little nitty gritty.
Okay. Okay. All right. I'll start with Sage, because
he's a man now, right?
He is. I'm not gonna give him that yet. He's a young man. He's
got facial hair now.
He's got a lot of room for improvement, but I'm excited about him because he's grown so much in already a really short amount of time. I mean, kind of when you watched him in high school, you could see glimpses here and there, and then once he got on campus, it was like, oh wow. Like, he's learning at a rapid rate. His body's changing. And so, like, he's really, really exciting to me. His size is really, really impactful on the court. He's just got to continue to learn to be in the right situations and places, as a player kind of moving forward. But, that's been, I guess, the positive with him. Dan Skillings, he just got here. And so he's still messing stuff up on the court, but he has, flashes of being, special. He's dynamic with his length, with his ability, with his skill, athleticism. He's something that we have not had, kind of here on the wing outside of John Newman, and so that's been great. And Josh Reed has been. I actually called his high school coach the other day, and I was like blown away at just how he's been able to blend himself into a college practice already. And actually stand out, which sounds simple, but I remember as a freshman, your head's kind of spinning. He's almost like a veteran already in terms of how he just blends. He's able to be on the court and make his presence felt with veterans, and also he picks and chooses his spots where he can stand out a little bit. So those guys, all three of them, they have such a bright future ahead, and really excited to have them.
Well, I mean, yeah, when you're dropping 35 points and then following it up with 28, sure. As a true freshman, your head's kind of spinning, right, Coach? Yeah.
I had good teammates. That's what it was.
There we go. But let's talk about the transfers that have been brought in. First off, I want to talk about Kalu Ezikpe, and I hope I'm saying it right. But man, if we were able to play the little highlight that he had from this past weekend at the Smith League where he, a little crossover, and number 4 in the video was playing great lockdown defense on the perimeter as well. I don't know if you caught that, but anyways, he rose up, he dunked, he's knocking down threes, he's showing some skill out there. Big man with the ability that he's shown, something that obviously you can do a lot with. Kind of how did that relationship build? I know you guys had a connection at UNCG. I don't know if that was while you were there as well, or if maybe you were trying to get him to Mid-Tennessee State as well, but kind of just Kalu himself. And then we're going to touch on Landers and Rob after that.
Yeah. Kalu, our staff was recruiting him really, really heavy. He was, our top recruit, when I was at UNC Greensboro, and, he broke our hearts, and he went to another school, went to Old Dominion, where he had a great career, played for a great staff. And so, with the COVID year being presented to these guys who finished 4 years of college, with him entering the transfer portal, he made a lot of sense from a standpoint of we wanted to be more versatile. He has toughness. He's got the ability to rebound, defend the way we want to defend. And he's the type of guy that we want, off the court as well. And so all those things kind of fit together, for it to be a really good fit. And, he loves Coach Miller. Coach Miller loves him. I think he's like a perfect fit, when it comes to blending with our other guys. And, he's a guy I'm excited to see, on that court in the Fifth Third Arena. Like, I keep telling him, man, like, you don't understand, like, our fans are wild, like in a good way. And so he's crazy excited right now.
And hopefully all the defense on him on the perimeter is what number 4 did in that little highlight package. I don't know if you saw it, but
man, yeah, you know what? I did see it, and I didn't even mention it to him. There wasn't a whole lot of defense. That's why. That's like, don't get into there wasn't a whole lot of defense, but yeah, he's got that ability. He can, beat guys off the bounce. He can muscle guys underneath with his girth and his size. He's going to be a good player for us, for sure.
You talk about perfect fit, and Landers Nolly seems to be just that. As we heard from some little birdies who were at Open Gym that Jeremiah Davenport was talking about, hey, this is what we've been missing right here, as, Landers Nolly was taking it to Jeremiah Davenport.
Well, I'm excited about all 3 of our transfers, right? But he gives you a little different feeling. He can really, really score the ball. He's blended really, really well with our guys as well. He's dynamic. I guess that's the best word I can kind of use for him. Like, he can score, well, really from anywhere on the court. He can post up smaller defenders. He can come off screens. He can come off ball screen in action, which is really important in an area where we'll utilize that skill set. He can really, really pass the ball. And I don't want to give too much more of a scouting report, but I will say, Bearcat fans are going to really enjoy watching him play.
No hard feelings with him coming in from Memphis then?
None at all. None at all. Open, welcome with open arms. I'm proud of you.
What was his scout like, though, when you guys were going up against Memphis the couple times you played him this year? What was he top of the game plan type guy?
Yeah, I mean, they were a really, really talented team. I think everybody knows that, and he was at the top of the report. But I'll give you this short story, and I'm not going to name names, so do not make me say names. But somebody on our bench, got him going at Fifth Third Arena, and Landers, he's a confident dude now, and he turned to our guy on the bench, and he started talking to our guy on the bench. He was like, "You messed up now, you got me going," and I remember yelling down to him, "Don't say another word." He's one of those guys that can get really, really hot. I think our team will obviously feel his impact from day one of him being able to, get on that court, and I know the fans will feel it as well.
And then Big Shot Rob, I am an Indiana University alum, although I bleed red and black, Bearcat through and through. One of those, I'm here at IU, but I'm wearing a Cincinnati jersey to the games type thing. Kind of talk about Big Shot Rob. Defense on the perimeter, obviously a lot of experience playing, in the Big Ten. Kind of what, obviously also the connection to Mike Roberts. What what are we seeing out of Big Shot Rob other than his physique and kind of going in and dominating the Monster Factory?
Well, it's funny. We just left a meeting, and Coach Roberts, he's hilarious, by the way. Coach Roberts said he's a machine. I don't know of a better word to describe Rob than he really is a machine. Like he's just efficient. Like he's just going to do what he needs to do, get it done, and he's going to do it over and over and over again. And so, he's obviously a veteran point guard. He brings stability to that position. He, along with Mike Adams-Woods, I think that position is, as good as anybody, in the American Conference. And so when you talk about him, everybody talks about his defense and his ability to impact the game from that standpoint, which is phenomenal. And I'd say probably even like a superpower of his on the court. But he's really good on the offensive end as well. And he'll give us a lot of punch there. He's capable of making big shots. He's capable of setting guys up, making guys look better. And, he's a great blend for what we needed, what Coach is about in terms of toughness, grit, attitude. And so, again, they're all great fits, but Rob is, the fit for Coach Miller and what Cincinnati basketball is going to be about moving forward.
Now you've got a pretty good blend of players that are returning. You got veterans in DeJulius and Jeremiah Davenport, John Newman, Mike Adams-Woods, Odi Oguama, Jarrett Hensley, Victor Locken. I mean, a lot of these guys have been around for a long time. But what were some of the focuses you had these guys working on in the offseason?
Yeah, in the offseason, it's about improving your skill set. Like in the program, everybody's job is to grow. And so we don't want to put a cap on, what your growth is or what you think your growth is. Coach is really, really open-minded in terms of letting guys kind of, choose areas that they want to grow in, and he'll kind of chime in and give his input, which obviously really, really matters. And so it makes for a perfect blend and a great relationship between player and coach, so that guys can feel good about their growth, but also at the same time understand that while I want to grow in this area, this is what the head coach needs me to do, and so I've also got to concentrate at this area as well to make sure I'm growing here. So that's been kind of, I guess, the focus. I guess
is one of Hensley's biggest focuses. Outside of other things, you can just sit him down and say, "Do that one thing you did at SMU. Just do that over and over again." Is that kind of what you guys?
Oh, no doubt, man. Anytime you can go, poster somebody. Come on now. Hey. No, he's dynamic too, and he's young. He's really, really young. He's got such a bright future in front of him. He's kind of grown in terms of his ability to make shots from the perimeter. He's done that more consistently now. And he's showing more flashes of being, that athletic guy at the rim that you're kind of talking about. So he's another guy I'm really excited about his future.
How excited are you right now for the amount of pressure that's going to be taken off of David DeJulius with the addition of a Landers Nolly, with the addition of a Daniel Skillings?
Yeah, I don't know if it's necessarily pressure. Great players want help, and so I don't know how much pressure Dave necessarily felt last year, but I know he likes those guys and he knows they provide help. And so, that automatically makes our team better. They're guys that, he's continuing to find trust with on the floor every single day. And, you talk about chemistry, blend, I think we've got a really special group that can kind of blend together and continue to do hopefully some special things moving forward.
So you told us 45 minutes. I mean, Coach, it seems like we're flowing a little bit here. We need to wrap things up. You got dinner waiting at home, or what are you feeling? We could kind of chop it up real quick, or go a little bit further.
Guys, you know how many missed calls I've gotten?
How many did we get?
I'll be honest. I've gotten at least 15 missed calls, and it gives me anxiety. So as much as I would love to chop it up with you guys, this has been awesome. I got to make sure the Bearcats are getting better on the recruiting front. Not gonna lie.
Amen. That's what I was thinking the answer was going to be. Just had to brace myself for it. So hey, Coach, this was awesome. We could probably go another hour and a half, but we'll let you slide right now.
We certainly appreciate the time, definitely during the busy time of the year for you.
Now, well, Brent, Aaron, I appreciate you guys having me on. I hope Chad has his toes in the sand right now and is enjoying his vacation. And hopefully I can get back on this deal here soon.
Thank you very much, Coach.
He probably is. All right, Coach. Well, hey, that was awesome. Thank you so much.
Appreciate you guys.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
All right.
You can go ahead and yeah, we go. Well,
we're good.
45 minutes right on the dot. How about that?
Yes, sir.
Gosh, 15 missed calls. I'd be kind of pooing my pants a little bit too. I'd be completely honest.
Especially during the recruiting season, like there's no time off, right?
No, not at all. Not at all. And we kind of were able to get everything in a very compact 45 minutes as well. I think there's not too much outside of miscellaneous here and there, but no, I thought that
we certainly could have dug deeper on some details and what have you, but yeah, obviously being respectful of time, and he gave us, the 45 versus, anything less than that or whatever. So yeah, I'm certainly happy with the way that went.
No, yeah, it was hilarious. And one story I was going to bring up during the time, but we obviously ran out of time, was kind of the fact how Wes has really branched out to the former players from the program. And Aaron, you and I have a funny story. I think we've mentioned it on a previous BBP, but it was the game against Tulsa, the college game day game, which obviously if you listeners were one of the thousands and thousands that attended college game day, you would know that the place was just filled with people, all walks of people, all throughout campus. And Aaron, you and I, after the game day festivities, I believe kickoff was 3:30, right? So there's kind of just that time in between, and we were kind of just roaming the grid, this, that, and the other, and all of a sudden there's big Ruben Patterson, just kind of standing on the outskirts, kind of just on his phone a little bit, chatting here and there.
Yeah, he was right near that like turnabout or near like that stage they have set up with the TV on it by the grid. Yeah.
Right. And we kind of just approached him, just kind of chopped it up with him a bit, and said like, hey, he's loving being back, he's loving the scene, this, that, and the other.
But he wasn't wearing UC gear.
No, he wasn't. He was wearing a nice polo sweatshirt, with the bear wearing the polo on the sweatshirt. Honestly, I'd like one for myself. That's a pretty cool sweatshirt. But like you said, it's not UC gear. Oh gosh. Wow, Aaron, I told you 9 o'clock.
Yep.
We're on our way to dinner.
You missed Coach by 2.5 minutes.
No, I didn't. I watched the whole thing.
I didn't know if you wanted to come in and say hi to him, but
driving through LA takes time.
It does. That's true. Where's
I'm in a really nice rental car that I don't want to wreck. So
right.
I just stopped in to say hi, see how everything was going.
It's going great. What'd you think of Coach Morgan? Obviously the man.
He's awesome. I love Dre. And he's as genuine and nice a dude as he comes across in interviews like that. And when Coach Miller says rising star, like he's the lead on Isaiah Collier. He's the lead on Arrington Page. Like,
I tried to hint, clue that a little bit with.
If he locks up some of the stuff that he's working on right now, to call him a rising star would be an understatement.
Yeah.
Agreed.
So, yeah.
I mean, he is as you can tell. Oh, wow. Thank you, Siri.
My concierge is handing out directions.
Where's dinner? How about that?
We're going to a Cajun restaurant to get Kelsey some crawfish.
Crawfish, baby. Crawfish, double order.
Turn right onto Spat.
She's acting like she doesn't want crawfish. Instead, she wants Mongolian barbecue.
And nah. You're gonna get the crawfish. It's gonna be
1,000 feet.
Until you get there and she eats a pound of crawfish.
Right. Well, and then we just drove past Fat Burger, which it was hard not to pull into the Fat Burger parking lot.
Not sure what a Fat Burger is, but it sounds pretty tasty.
I don't know. It looks like we're losing Chad.
Yeah.
I mean, if you ever Today Was a Good Day by Ice Cube?
Yes. Yeah.
Yep.
We have. I'm
My
guessing
neighbor.
he mentioned Fat Burger.
You're on the internet.
Yeah.
That's robotic.
Yeah.
You must be driving through some
wow.
movie shoot or something.
All right. Well,
okay. We'll call in later if you'd like.
bye.
Bye. Oh.
I don't.
Mile.
Did we get you back? No.
Oh, he's back.
All right.
See you
All
later.
right. Bye, Chad.
Hot mic, Chad. Just
Unreal.
Before he threw out a Siri. Anyway, we did forget a quick timestamp though.
We did. Well, let's go ahead and put that in here as Andre Morgan. Coach Andre Morgan was here. Oh.
Well, this timestamp is brought to you by Urban Artifact. You can head to their location where there's the reliquary, and you can head up there and you can host events there, and you can enjoy all the tasty fruit tarts and seltzers that they offer. Aaron, which one are you doing?
I have the Urban Artifact Peaches and Cream Nitro Fruit Tart.
The Nitro Fruit Tart.
Mm-hmm.
I'm rocking a bit of a key lime salsa fruit tart with sea salt, serrano pepper, green onion, and black peppercorn. Sounds like a meal. But yeah, Urban Artifact. Hit up Urban Artifact. Mention Bearcat Journal. Oh, and yeah, head on over there. Enjoy the tasty fruit tarts.
And you get $2 off a flight, I believe.
Oh wow, this one is funky. Wow.
Different, huh? You have the spicy key lime. Yeah.
It's a bit of a party in the mouth, I tell you what. Very interesting. Thank you. Thank you, Urban Artifact. But yeah, I mean, kind of just wrapping up the story that we were telling before Sir Chad wanted to let us know. Cajun restaurant. He didn't tell us which one, but hopefully it's good. Hopefully the crawfish tastes good. But aside from that, yeah, it was Ruben Patterson in a polo sweatshirt. Aaron mentioned how he needs to get some UC gear. And his response was, yeah, I'm trying to find everybody. Aaron, he was on campus, hadn't been there since he was last there, I believe, is what he was saying. And
yeah,
literally couldn't contact anyone. The service was spotty, and he was like, yeah, DeMar's not answering. I'm trying to hit up all these people, this, that, and the other. So, Aaron, what did we do?
He walked Ruben Patterson around campus trying to help find DeMar, trying to help find somebody, anybody that could help put him where he needed to be, because the poor guy had no idea what anything was anymore, where anything was anymore. He hadn't been on campus since, the late 90s, early 2000s?
Yeah. And, of course, sure enough, there he was. Coach Andre Morgan. We flagged down Coach, hand off Ruben, and the rest is history. It's kind of funny just hearing that story and recollecting that with him and before the pod. I wanted to ask about it during the pod because obviously it's seems like it's a pretty important part of Coach Miller's philosophy is getting the past players on campus, getting them around the program. We've heard all about all the former players coming back and playing in the open gyms and being on campus for, games and whatnot. So I imagine that'll be something that continues to build. And obviously when you have people like Coach Morgan and, Crystal Poor and Chad Dollar, Mike Roberts, Wes Miller himself, all these former players are able to come back and they're welcomed with open arms, all genuine, nice people. And I thought he was absolutely fantastic. Jason Cooper with a pretty funny comment right there. But anyway, He said Ruben didn't know where his classes were when he was out. Easy. Ruben Patterson, the man. But yeah, Coach Morgan remembered that, and he said, yes, that was a pretty important location was finding Ruben and getting him some UC gear to wear during that game. But man, I tell you what, the staff put together, Aaron, we kind of heard it through Coach Morgan, and I wanted to kind of end it with kind of how everyone's got a little bit of a positive feel heading into next season. But I think that his reactions to some of the questions about Landers Nolley and Kalu and the freshmen, I think that kind of speaks volumes for what the staff kind of feels like they have heading into next year.
How can you not be excited about this team, though? I mean, we saw what this team was able to do being put together on the fly, and now they had a full cycle to get some pieces moved around and bring in some guys. And when you add a guy with the gravitas that Landers Nolley brings to the table, and you surround that with a big like Kalu Ezikpe, who they obviously have been excited about since he was originally being recruited by UNCG. You bring in a Rob Finnessy, who, if you bring him in and he's able to figure out this system, plus all the freshmen they're bringing in, I mean, how can you not be excited about this team? They have far more talent than what they had last year at this time.
Yeah, completely. Did you see the highlights from Smith League with Kalu?
I haven't yet. No.
Oh man, they are. Here, let me see if I can text them to you real quick, and we can throw them up there. I don't know. Is video pretty tough with this?
Were they on Twitter?
Instagram.
Oh, Instagram. Okay, I can pull up Instagram. Just tell me who I need to look up.
Smith League, I believe, would be it.
That's it.
I believe so. Let me see exactly which one it is. I mean, he went out there and put on a show, and I believe that's kind of exactly what they were mentioning. Kind of the fact that, oh wow, and I think Ed Mayhall is talking about the what's up, Ed? By the way, talking about how Corey Blunt was just named the head coach for the Nasty Natty and the TBT.
Yeah, I like how Ed puts that out there, even though I've already retweeted it. Good job, Ed.
But the highlights were on. Oh, it's Bowman, Bollmann.
Hey, you got to turn that volume down.
No, I took it off
before we get
Bollman.
Well, I have this here as I'm looking through real fast.
Yeah, I mean, pretty much he just went out there and they said, Kalu Ezikpe, welcome to the city. And he, there we go. That'd be a nice little Xavier versus Cincinnati. And we did get the mention of that date of the 10th of December. I like the date. It's a good time to have the game kind of earlier in the year, prior to when the conference play begins. Obviously, we'll take that. Hopefully, coming back from a highly successful Maui Invitational, and that's obviously going to be another thing to start watching as the games start to come out that are on the schedule for next year. But yeah, man, this team has a lot of excitement. And Aaron, as you and Chad were talking about yesterday on the nightcap as well, they are not stopping anytime soon. They've got a lot of hot names that they've been recruiting. I don't know, obviously, kind of what was your takeaway just from what Chad was able to tell you on the recruiting front during the nightcap last night?
Well, I mean, you can't ask me a question as you're asking me to find a video. I'm still back there, man. I'm still looking for.
Okay, Bollman, Bowman.
Why was it
Smith
League?
Visuals.
Bollman.
N. 2 N's. Dot visuals with an S. Yep. You'll see Kalu. You'll see the domination.
This is where it's nice to have 3 people while you're also trying to produce
the little filibuster part
and carry on conversation.
This is the whole side of the StreamYard where it's like, okay, there's 2 of us. Well, hopefully we'll be able to get everything thrown out there. But yeah, I mean, it was just Obviously, if you can find it and throw it up there, it's a highlight package of him just kind of in his bag, as the youngsters say these days, as the loading is coming up. But yeah, I mean, you listen to Coach Morgan talk about Kalu, and he mentions all the different intangibles and abilities that he has that kind of weren't really on the team as far as the big men go last season. I guess you could kind of say if you group, Jeremiah Davenport in there as a 4, he kind of, obviously brought the outside shooting and whatnot. I don't expect Kalu to be some, a bit of a knockdown shooter. But
is the video showing up?
Yeah, it's not looking video like, but it's up. But yeah, I mean, if it doesn't play, it's all good. We can move on. But yeah, go look up Bowman.visuals on Instagram. It's a nice, 1 minute video full of it. And there's number 4 that I was talking about that was playing the lockdown defense, which, I mean, these leagues, the Smith League and whatnot, not really necessarily known for the defensive stance. But yeah, I mean, it's the high level talent that this team has on all facets, and I'm excited to see what it has in store.
Should be a lot of fun.
Should be. But as far as last night, Aaron, you guys kind of touched on it at the nightcap, obviously, and Coach Morgan mentioned it as well. 15 missed calls. Let's hope none of those are too serious of missed calls, but
Right.
kind of the recruitment really taking the next step. Kind of what were some of the names or some of the storylines that you and Chad were able to discuss that really kind of caught your eye as far as where the staff was this past weekend?
The fact that, Coach was just going everywhere that he was going to, even if he was showing up by himself, still not done with Xavier Booker's recruitment. I mean, you're talking about a top 5 recruit in the country.
Right.
And I guess, one of the things Chad alluded to, and I'm kind of curious as to what your thoughts are. Some people are wondering why, when he has, some other offers, obviously, why this team continues to spend money and resources in trying to recruit Xavier Booker, when they should be, according to some people, spending their money and resources and time in other places. So, I mean, I guess the fact that, and Chad brought up the fact that if he's still answering and still being very responsive, why wouldn't you?
Yeah. I think it's just more of a note to the fact that Coach Wes Miller trusts his staff as well. Where he can peel off and attend these events all by himself. I think he hopped on the plane and went solo, as Chad was saying, to go see, junior Darian Reed as well. And then that's putting trust in, in Coach Morgan, and putting trust in Coach Dollar and Coach Roberts, that they're going to continue to pick up the slack while he goes and focuses on some other things himself. So as far as it goes for Booker, I mean, the connections were there when Mikey Saunders was on the team. Of course, his dad, obviously, the AU coach of Booker, and from what Chad has said, that the relationship is still good between Wes and the Saunders family. So, that's where a connection is built. And as you mentioned, if the top 5 players continue to answer your calls, you're not going to stop calling until he stops answering. And with the relentless ability to recruit that we've seen out of this staff so far, the ability to kind of connect with these players and with these recruits, I think it's just, why not shoot your shot? Why not continuously try and go after it and hit the pavement harder than anyone else in the country is? Because it seems like what the staff is doing right now, they're out working. They're trying to do everything they can to not only talk to these recruits, but show that they want to be there, show that they're willing to go the extra mile and show them their support. I mean, you guys mentioned last night how the entire staff was there to watch Page and Collier. I believe Collier was out with an injury, but Page was there playing, but yet they were there. The whole staff was there, trying to make sure that connection is continuing to be built, and it's just that's outworking other staffs. And when you have a young and hungry coaching staff like this team has, it's something that the staff is able to do that some other staffs might not. Some other staffs might be a little bit more pick and choose as far as where they want to go and where they want to spend their resources. When you have the trust and you have the ability to really just grind and nonstop go, that's when you see them going after these bigger names and see them kind of branching out and hitting all spots. And I mean, Booker is a huge fish. There's no doubt about that.
Mm-hmm.
But he is still answering the phone calls. He is still showing the interest. So you're not going to then just be like, oh, well, here's Duke offering. Here's, team, Blue Blood A and Blue Blood B coming in line. Well, you know what? This staff, we heard it through Coach Morgan as well. The staff views Cincinnati as a blue blood. They view Cincinnati as historically a strong tradition, one that deserves to be up there with the grit and the way that they play and the style that they go after it. And I mean, so why not stop? Just keep going. Well, there's no reason to stop.
How can you not be excited about the type of swings that the staff is taking? I mean, literally every guy that they're connected to right now is a big swing. I feel like there's not a guy who's not in the top, 250 at this point that they're trying to get, and it may not even be that far down the line. Like I don't know, I don't have the list of all the guys that they've offered at this point, obviously, but it feels like every single guy they're connected to is a big swing, and we're not accustomed to that. Mick didn't seem to be taking big swings with every guy that he was recruiting,
right?
And the previous regime, I feel like, I don't really even want to get into. It was very short-lived. So I feel just exhilarated by the type of swings that they're taking at this point.
Yeah. And of course, you mentioned all the other, where there's some players that have this connection to Cincinnati and they want to be involved. They want to have, follow this movement that the team has really been on. And I mean, it's obvious, and you hear it through Coach Morgan. I keep on mentioning it. You hear it through Wes, and you hear it through all the whole staff and the players. And it really does feel like something special is happening. And it really does feel like the staff is willing to use every single resource they can to make sure it doesn't slow down anytime soon. So, I mean, with all the names that have been thrown out there, obviously they're floating around the board as well. You can go back and listen to the nightcap from last night, but it's going to just continue to be talked about. There's a lot of forward momentum and positive feels around the program. And I mean, this is the time to hop on, because it's really, really starting to connect. And, as you, some coaches might be able to sit down on a podcast and go for an hour and a half.
Sure.
During recruitment time. But no, 15 missed calls, buzzing, rising star, Coach Andre Morgan. No, it's going to be exciting, especially because, as 2023 continues to wear on, 2024, some names are coming out as well. And BCJ, we've got all of it covered. And there's some exciting, and as you mentioned, highly ranked players as far as on the recruiting front that are garnering attention and receiving offers. And it seems as if, they don't just blindly throw offers around. If there's there, then they're going for it.
How many of these guys has Cincinnati been on top of before they even got the bump in their recruitment, right? Like, it's fascinating at this point.
No, it is. And I mean, I'm just excited to see kind of how the dominoes start to fall, because I don't think any of them are falling anytime soon. Obviously, that would be a Chad thing to fill in, but just from what I can sense, but it just seems as if they're kind of building up this feeling and this momentum themselves, and the staff's not slowing down anytime soon. So I'm excited to see what the next step is.
And if you listen to anything from last night, we did go in depth about some of the recruiting moves that have been made over the weekend, without getting back into it with all the details again, as we talked 20 minutes about it last night on the nightcap. Chad is staying connected. He is not really able to fully disconnect himself, even while on vacation. So he has been on the phones. I don't know how much he was on the phones today, but he is certainly making sure to continue to push out content. While he may not be available every night this week, he is definitely still going to fill people in as much as he can while on the other side of the country.
Yep. Yeah, we mentioned Darion Reed. I think another name you guys touched on.
Perry.
Yep, Tyler Perry. No, not Tyler. Sorry, Travis
Not Tyler.
Perry. Not Tyler Perry of
Medea.
Yeah, not our good friend Medea, but Travis Perry, obviously. Chad mentioned him from Kentucky. Just a handful of names that continue to really crop up and be kind of excited. Meyer was another name, I believe. He was the decommit from Western Kentucky. So, hey, the staff is relentless, man. And when you have a monster factory and you have the older, experienced players that want to go out there and want to compete and want to get better, it allows the staff to go out and grow the future. And I mean the movement. You see the highlights. You see all the social media posts. It's happening. It is absolutely happening.
How fun was that today with the little surprise of, here's an entire video package on John Newman, and I imagine they're going to go through and do one for at least each of the guys returning, if not each of the guys in general. So that should be a fun little series because
I think they've done a couple, but I like it's what I mentioned on like every BVP is like, you touch on this incoming player, that incoming player, then you're like, but John Newman has a whole off season of development, whole off season to get fully healthy. Oh, and you mentioned Jarrett Hensley, you mentioned Jeremiah Davenport, you mentioned Victor. It is a list that just continues to go. And that was gonna be another thing I asked Coach Morgan was, when you take a step back and you look at the roster, it's a good thing. It's a good problem to have, is having all these highly talented players and not figuring out how to use all of them to their best ability. So it's going to be an exciting thing to continue to track.
I agree. And I think that is where we'll go ahead and timestamp the Around the Rim segment.
Around the Rim, I like it.
Yeah.
Do we maybe a timestamp? Urban Artifact, extremely tasty.
That's your read.
I don't have a read, but
I thought you had the reads.
No. Urban Artifact.
Urban Artifact. Get down there in Northside.
Yeah. Tell them where to go. You're the guy that's been living in Cincy more recently than me.
You go to your app, whatever driving app that you use, and type in Urban, and it should pop up if you're in the Cincinnati area. Like I said, it's at Northside, about I don't know 7-10 minutes from campus, if that.
Man.
I can only imagine what that one is, man.
It is a doggone party, man. Party in the mouth. Fruit, spice, green onion, serrano pepper. Good. Very good. Well,
that's wild.
Another thing you guys touched on, obviously, last night was the football recruiting. Malik Elzy, obviously, is the hot name. Jalen Thompson as well. Official visits are down and done. Elzy, I don't think he's mentioned if he's set up another visit yet or not. Quick look on the Twitter.com.
On Twitter.
Elzy. But yeah, I mean, obviously, the momentum that the staff is able to build on obviously, a Houston offer might be hopefully a little bit too late, but yeah, I mean, he just has official visit Cincinnati. That's the last kind of the last thing he posted, and of course, obviously, all the commitments recently for the class, obviously posting at him with that join the family, Malik, different things of that sort. I'm not seeing a post at all about him going on another visit. Obviously, Mick and crew will be all over that as it comes to seeing if he's going to decide to take another visit or if he's going to continue to mull over things. But, Aaron, it's yet another week, yet another successful visits.
Well, what did you think about Jalen Thompson missing his flight to Penn State.
Sometimes things are like a blessing in disguise, right? Is that what we're going to call this, or I mean, I don't know what to think of
take it for what it is, but how would you feel if you were the school and a guy misses his flight?
I would begin to question everything because although I am an optimist, I'm quite the warrior wart as well. So I would be, I'd be freaking out if I was sitting up there in State College trying to figure out, okay, what's going on? What's going on?
Just seems strange, and I don't know that if you're in the recruiting process, A, that's a good look, or B, if that's even the truth. So we'll see. We'll see what happens. Obviously, again, if you wanted to find out all that happened this weekend with recruiting, rather than write one of the articles because Chad's on vacation, he actually gave it all for free this one time on the nightcap. But there was a ton of recruiting information given in that 20 minutes.
Yep, and obviously it does feel like it's been a little while since a commitment, which is quite sad. But I mean,
yeah, the last cookies that we had were false alarm cookies. So
yes, and they ended up being some cookies that were never baked or eaten. But either way,
I think those were the last ones.
Yeah, well, Snowden with the commitment as well. But LZ, obviously we mentioned him, and then Brown obviously came off his visit to Kentucky, and it seems as if it's where he didn't walk away from that with a commitment. You guys kind of touched on that last night on the recap as well. But yeah, you mentioned it as Jalen Thompson is another Michigan connection there.
Right.
Another thing where it's like, okay, is he starting to really feel this push that the squad is saying? Is it kind of, I don't know. The whole thing is strange because these are yet again 4 more if you toss in Matthews, who Jermaine, I believe he still has his commitment date set for the
July 4th.
I don't know if he's changed that, but
nope, not yet.
The staff has filled a lot of holes already, so
sure,
kind of really take a step back and focus on the priority recruits and really put all efforts into those. So I believe in the upcoming weeks we'll be able to kind of see where those chips fall. And as you guys mentioned last night, as things are chugging along here on the basketball side, they are not slowing down anytime soon on the football side as well.
No, and I mean, this school still has number 3 ranking, if I'm not mistaken. I don't think they've been jumped, as everything on my computer is currently running slow for any type of refresh.
Yeah, well, you were a little tiny slow, but it's all good. They're actually sitting 2023. They've moved down to, looks like, number 2 according to the 247, but composite looks like it's 7th right now. So
there it is. Yep, dropped 7. That long for my refresh. I don't know what's happening with my internet. If I had the opportunity to hop off here and reset it, I would. But that's where we are.
I mean, if you needed me to, I could filibuster, but
we're all right.
I think we're chugging along here. Aside from that, I think those are kind of all the names that we have really kept a close eye on. I don't think there's too much else.
Did you see Brady's top chains and offense defensive line?
Yes.
Did you see that tweet?
Can you bring that up at all, or is it?
We'll see. We'll see how long it takes.
As it
no
might
promises
be.
Right now.
Right.
But were there any names that stood out to you in either of those?
Well, first off, great to see your boy JQ up there.
I agree. That one stood out to me as well.
Exactly. And then aside from that, I would say D'Artagnan Tinsley.
Right.
He was a player that, if you listen to the last BBP with Brady and his beautiful mustache, which I received quite the haymaker from on the BCJ pod, but that's a different story for a different time. Tinsley was a player that was kind of mentioned by Brady, and someone that he kind of mentioned was showing some promise and showing some things aside from his freakish length and freakish physical attributes, as kind of making the steps needed to progress and become a force on the offensive line. And when he's leading these contests, if you will, it just shows the brute strength that he has and the ability to I know, Jason, I know. And the ability to kind of put it all together on the field and play without thinking. We heard Darian Beavers is another player that transfer that came in, and Marcus Freeman talked about how he's out there just thinking all the time. He needs to start playing without thinking. And maybe D'Artagnan's figuring that out a little faster than the other transfers of the past have. We saw Nick Mardner make another move on the list as well. Once these transfers come in and they show what they can do with the step up, I mean, I see Tinsley as, with his length, his ability, I mean, he's got every sign of someone that could help out, on the interior of the offensive line, or just kind of just that swing position. And yeah, his name definitely popped off to me. What about you?
I can't believe that anyone beat Juwan Briggs. And like you said, Brady talked about how much D'Artagnan Tinsley has been impressive in the weight room. So maybe we shouldn't be surprised. Maybe This will continue to be a thing. I look at the disparity between 929 and 885, and I feel like maybe that's a pretty big jump.
Right.
All considering. I mean, when you look at guys at 4, 5, and 6, sitting right around that 800 number at 805, 805, and 804, no one coming near 900 other than Juwan Briggs. So maybe it's an anomaly, or maybe this is going to become a normal thing. You got D'Artagnan Tinsley, you got Jake Renfro, you have Gavin Gerhardt in this top 6, and we talked about it on one of the nightcaps in the past week. I'm not even sure what day at this point. But we talked about you could easily return all 5 offensive linemen next year, as you have 5 returning offensive linemen, with Mets filling in for Dylan O'Quinn, or you could revamp the entire offensive line as comes. They weren't his guys. It wasn't his team last year. So maybe this is a sign of things to come. If you did, swing Jake Renfro out to one of those guard positions and you let Gavin Gerhardt take over at the center position now that he's got some time under his belt. He looked good in the spring as he took an awful lot of snaps at center there. Maybe that's something that we continue to see going forward. It'll be real interesting to see what happens then at Camp Pyro. As for the top chain speeds, like you said, I mean, seeing some of these new names pop up we've seen the speed guys, but like with the Hills and different things, there's definitely some new names here with Lieber, with a Sammy Anderson, with Ty Van Fossen, with a Nick Martin, Chuck getting back in there, JQ. It's good to see some different names popping off, and I think it's nothing but a sign of guys putting in some work, and potentially what even Miles Montgomery, man, we've talked about how he's the all-around guy as far as maybe the most versatile back in the crew outside of whatever Corey Kiner might be bringing to the table. So it'll be real interesting to see how this all goes.
I agree completely. Because you were kind of, I don't know if it's my connection or yours, but you were flowing in and out. But from what I heard, my man, yes, it's all signs pointing to kind of the iron sharpens iron thing. And we hear, all the players that were drafted into the NFL mention this iron sharpens iron. Sauce mentions it going up against Garrett Wilson every day in practice. You heard Dez mention it, Alec Pierce mention it. It's something that continues to go in the program currently as well. And it's if Brady's going to post the winners and the leaders of these stats and these competitions, people are going to want to be first. They're going to want to do what they can to show up on there. To maybe some players have different goals. Maybe their goal is just to come in there at a certain number, And if that's the certain number, then they're able to be out there maybe 8th or 9th or something. You mentioned the top chain speeds, and there's Will Huber again at 12. And, that was another player that Brady mentioned last week was just, someone that he was proud to see putting in the effort. Who would have thought that a couple of years ago? So, all things considered, these competitions, these iron sharpens iron every single week. It all just adds up, and it's a fight to get better and a fight to grow as a team. So, and that only intensify a week from Friday as well when Squat Fest rolls around. So
can't wait.
I'm gonna actually try and make it. I think I could pull it off. I've got a flight to Florida Friday night.
Of course you do.
Friday night, so it'll be go spend the night in Cincy Thursday night, then wake up, go to that, drive straight into work on Friday, hit the flight Friday night. I think I could pull it off. Brady, if you're listening, we'll see you there. But yeah, I don't have anything else as far as football and recruiting goes. We can open up the small mailbag and kind of wrap this sucker up.
Small mailbag indeed. So much, in fact, that normally when we're producing, while you and Chad are going full bore,
here I'll talk about the urban artifact while you can get things ready.
All right.
How about that? So this is you're drinking the peaches and cream.
Yeah.
I have the key lime salsa fruit tart. It comes in a bit of a bigger can here. It's got some great artwork all around it. Looks like a crab holding a serrano pepper, and
it's fun.
It's very good. It's a small batch society is the little thing on there.
We're just not going to post the banners like we normally do this week. That's just where we're at today.
Yeah.
First question though, out of the mailbag. Is Chad delegating another birdie or birdies to take his place at the open gym, or do we have to wait for his return? It's important to note many of us surely have birdie withdrawal. That said, none of us are in Cincinnati currently. So yes, we'll probably be waiting until next week. Of course, he's going to be sending out feelers and what have you to some of his connections. We'll see what we're able to come up with. He's not even going to be able to do all of the nightcaps this week. So people need vacations.
Yeah, they do. And he is taking his at a perfect timing because not many other places are you allowed to, have these little birdies show up at the open gyms and come out with their full accounts. But I'm sure obviously it's a high priority thing when Chad comes back or when, someone else is in town or whether we're able to connect with other birdies that are there on the site, whatever we're able to relay, we'll be able to fill that in. But I think what Coach Morgan was able to spill about all the newcomers and different things that he's seen in them, I think that's birdie enough, if you will. So
do want to apologize for any and all of the Andre Morgan questions as we were not able to get to those because we were still going through our questions. We still had probably an entire page of questions that we had for him, not even including the mailbag questions, but we did our best to try and get to a lot of that stuff.
He said 45 minutes. We did a good job.
We used 45 minutes.
We did a really good job. We didn't really dilly-dally too much.
If Fick lands two of his top 3 remaining targets for either this year or next year's classes, and West lands 2 of his top 3 remaining targets for either of the next 2 years, which would be the more impressive feat or the bigger haul? I don't know that Fickle hasn't landed 2 of his top 3 targets.
Yeah, I mean, you never know. It's like the Malik Hartfords of the world and players of that sort where staff is kind of after him as a key target and whatnot. Sure, those might be some players that, kind of you weren't able to bring in. And if you do add him, then obviously that's a high level top target. But still,
one of the things you have to keep in mind too, right, is that the rankings that you see in the
Right.
recruiting rankings
Yep.
aren't necessarily indicative of how the staff sees these same targets.
Well, that as well as like Malik Hartford coming in as the 149th player in the nation
Mhm.
is a lot different than like Isaiah Collier, who is up there as top 10 and some places. I think you have to say Wes Miller because you would say Isaiah Collier and Xavier Booker, which then would give you 2 top 10 bona fide 5-star prospects.
Sure.
And that kind of just completely wipes out anything that the football front can bring. So I think as in regards to that question itself, it would be if Wes Miller were able to bring in his 2 top, prospects that he's going after. Because what?
Not only that, but how much of an impact are guys having on a 12-man team as opposed to a 85-man roster?
Right. Yeah, I agree. And I mean, it's an interesting thing to look at because obviously you have targets, you have goals, but I mean, Xavier Booker's 4th in the country according to 247, and of course there sits Isaiah Collier at 10. That would be like the equivalent of getting probably like the 50th player on the football front and then a top 20 player. So I don't know if the staff's necessarily going after that or exactly what it's looking like, but hey, not a bad problem to have when you're hitting on all cylinders football recruiting and you're getting the guys that you think fit the most, and then on the basketball side, you're going after high level recruits and you're still in the mix, and it's getting to the point where these players are really starting to consider Cincinnati at a high level.
Curious to get Brent and Aaron's thoughts on the Louisville recruiting weekend with big flashy cars and jets. I understand it's not directly UC related, but it does potentially have an effect on what we do in recruiting.
What do you think first, Aaron?
I think that I don't know. I think I just really enjoy the way that this staff handles recruiting because they don't pull like gimmicky shit, right? Like they're not out here trying to woo and wow you with like, here's a fancy car. Like, I mean, I maybe they did like one photo shoot on the field with a sports car that I can remember here in the last like 6 months, but I feel like they tried that once and that was about it. They didn't do that for like the big weekend that we had last weekend. They didn't do that for the big weekend that they had for the official visits 2 weekends ago. Like that's not something that they've continued to dabble in, if you will. They don't do anything weird like LSU did with Brian Kelly and the dancing or whatever that was.
Right.
Like, I feel like they're here. They're going to show you campus. They're going to show you what they have to offer. They're not going to really bullshit you, and they're just going to tell you how it is and how the family is here. And that's what they try and sell you on.
Right. No, and you know what? As you scroll through those on Twitter, and I'm looking at State of Lou is the Twitter account that was kind of it was retweeted by Matt Jones of Kentucky Sports Radio, and it does give them eating dinner in front of these private jets and the really nice cars, this, that, and the other.
How often are the kids getting on private jets? So like, especially in Cincinnati, where the head basketball coach and the head football coach just got granted access to private jets. What would even be the point of being like, hey, look at these jets so we can have you eat dinner in front of? Wouldn't make sense here.
No, I agree. And I believe if you spoke with a recruit and that was really important to him, I believe the staff would do all it would take to give them and show them exactly what they're wanting. If they had a recruit on campus and he absolutely loves a Bentley, I'm sure all resources will be put out to try and get a Bentley on the field.
I disagree.
I don't know. I think it's about the connection, obviously, that they've been able to build.
I think it's about a fit for what the kid would actually be able to fit
Right.
with the existing team. And I don't think those are the type of guys that would fit here right now. Like this team feels still more blue collar than white collar. I feel like that's far more white collar than anything this recruiting staff has done.
Right. No, I agree. I think that they do a good job at, kind of really just showing what that brotherhood is. And, we mentioned that a lot and everything of that sort. But I mean, they've done some bells and whistles in the past. And,
sure.
But
again, I bring up the last 2 weekends, which have been arguably the biggest recruiting weekends that they've had ever.
Right.
We didn't hear about anything like this.
Oh, we didn't.
Luke built a barn, and we have Topgolf.
Right. Well, and then of course, I mean, going to that nice barn and things like that, I'm sure that's got a cool feel to it.
Sure.
Something that they love to see. But yeah, I mean, the thing is, you can probably set up this as well. I think the all the staff put together has probably the connections to do it if they wanted to. But yeah, no, I guess I do agree with what you're saying. Kind of just how the fit is kind of more important to the staff, and then kind of just showing how much they're together. One thing you don't see in those pictures, Aaron, is you don't see 10 current Louisville players joining them in the pictures. I mean, sure, there might be some, but you don't see the whole team in that little area where they're taking pictures with the Jets and whatnot.
Well, and what do we know about the kids that come to visit Cincinnati? They have a host, and they get along with the host, and all the hosts right now are competing to see who they can make the next Bearcat.
Yeah.
So this just seems a very strange thing to me. I hope this isn't the route that the staff decides to take, because sure, you landed the number 1 overall running back.
Right.
But if he's a diva like that, to where you have to be around fancy cars and flashy planes and all that, what's going to happen when you tell him that he needs to do push-ups? What's going to happen when you tell him that he needs to be in the weight room at 5 a.m. Or change his diet? Like, I guess that's where I don't see the fit currently as things currently exist in Cincinnati.
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't seem to gel.
Right. No, I definitely see that side of it. Yes, but it's also a time where the rise of social media and whatnot. I mean, shoot, I'm not someone to take a picture next to cool cars and whatnot, but I mean, you see, it's a growingly, it's something that is not really that far fetched for someone, these recruits' age to be that way. But it's like you said, the staff targets someone that they really feel like is a good fit to the program.
Mm-hmm.
And when they bring them on campus, they pitch them, obviously, as we've seen over the last, month, pretty much. They pitch them as great of a pitch as they can, just showing the growth of a top 10 program that they have here. And if you commit, it's because you want to be a part of it. And then if you don't, then you can head to Louisville and just sit down in a private jet for a little bit and commit there. But no, will it have an effect in the future of recruiting? I don't know. Unless they're handing the private jets to these kids, I don't necessarily think that it's got too much of an effect. It's cool for the time being, especially if they want to do it. But yeah, I don't think it's anything to worry about too much.
One of the questions that didn't show up in the mailbag, but I'm curious to get your thoughts on. It's my own question, actually. What are your thoughts on the NCAA football game that is slated currently to come out in July of 2023, which I can't wait.
Yes, sir.
But they're apparently going to be doling out payments on a tiered system where schools will get anywhere from $100,000 to, I believe, just $1,000, depending on whatever the tier system is. I want to know who's deciding that and how that's fair, and why are we doing it just based on schools? Why wouldn't we do it based on, if you're a starter, you get X dollars. If you're not if you're an upperclassman, you get X dollars. If you're an underclassman, you get X dollars. Like, I think it seems strange that they're doing a tier system based on what school you have.
Yeah, it's. I agree, and to me, it's kind of the ever evolving thing that is college sports, because you introduce the one time transfer rule and the transfer portal, and people try and figure it out that first year, and all of a sudden it's kind of crazy and whatnot. And you look at the same thing with NIL right now; it's just crazy and a flux. Some people are abusing it, some people are just really not doing it the right way. And I think yet again, it'll trickle down to this as well, where someone will need to come in and eventually be like, hey, thank you for bringing the game back. We all love it. Takes me back to my college days. But yes, we need to get a little bit more of a structure with this. We can't.
Well, it seems to me they're setting themselves up for another class action lawsuit, right? Because just because you went to Ohio State doesn't mean that the game sold more copies than somebody who went to Miami, Ohio. Like, people are going to buy the game regardless. And who are you to be the arbiter of, well, you get this amount, or you get it? You almost are setting up EA to be in bed with certain teams.
Yeah, I agree. It'll be interesting because it's coming out in July 2023, right?
They got plenty of time to try and figure it out before those payments. Correct.
Well, that's also when Cincinnati is officially in the Big 12.
But I don't know if they're going to go by conference, or if they're going to go by top 25, or if they're going to go by whatever the case may be. But it just seems odd.
It does.
That you're going to do a tiered system when you've already tried to fight for the kids that you be paid, and we're just out here. We're going to make up our own pay structure based on nothing, no type of. I don't know if there's any type of metric that they could use to go garner. Well, fans of this fan base bought more EA games than this other fan base. Maybe you can figure that out between now and a year from now, but
yeah, no, I agree.
It just seems like they're setting themselves up for another class action lawsuit.
They're probably heading down that path. But yeah, it's just maybe it's by a Power 5, not Power 5, but yeah, especially with college football, it's not as many teams as college basketball, so they'll probably need to figure something out, especially if they're going to throw out a college basketball game as well, another NCAA March Madness game. So
we'll see.
We'll have to see. Is there any way you can refresh your screen? You're really coming choppy.
I can try, but I'll be gone for a second.
Okay, that's fine. I'll filibuster. NCAA football, man. I tell you what, guys. I used to be really good at it, but NCAA March Madness, I brought it up because I was not number 1, not number 2, but I was number 3 in the world. Sure, it was a little bit further back on the NCAA March Madness pool. It was like 4 games before, but I was online gaming, hooping, little Cincinnati. Ooh, we were good. Hopefully we get Aaron back soon. But yeah, I mean, NCAA football, it'll be interesting to see how they do structure this tier payment system. But all signs are pointing to probably Cincinnati being within that upper echelon group, as Aaron mentioned. Sure, we're about to wrap this thing up soon. We'll see if Aaron hops back on in time. But, hey, a fantastic interview with Coach Morgan today. Still huge. Thanks to him for coming on. Thanks to him for everything that he was able to bring to the pod. Hopefully we're able to continue getting more interviews quite like that, where, obviously we have Brady on a lot. We got Coach Morgan. We got, different players. Royer was on for a little bit. Hopefully we can continue that stretch along the way. And honestly, if you guys ever have a thought of like someone that you would like to have on the pod, or you would like to have us on the BVP, just shout it out. We'll see what we can do. But Coach Morgan was solid gold. Let's just put it that way. Let's see if I can't bring up another question real fast. Let's see here. All righty, home site. All righty, let's see here. Checker Court basketball board, the mailbag. Okay. News on the John Brandon lawsuit. I did not see anything about that, but I saw his little camp is going for him. Thoughts on recruitment, loves on social media. So I thought about this question, the AC Mazzara question, Coach Morgan's thoughts on the role fans play in recruitment. The way that he mentioned how he brought it up to Kalu Ezekbe, how he said, hey, this fan base, they are crazy. He said crazy, but then he filled it in a good way. So crazy in a good way makes me feel like staff is actually pretty pumped with how well the fan base is able to connect and really boost and help the recruiting front, if I had to guess on that front. Coach Morgan's favorite thing to do in Cincinnati outside basketball, I could not answer that one, but something tells me it would be spend time around his family or recruiting. He seemed to be heavy into the recruiting front on that. I think we touched on these. Lots and lots of pizza. Okay. Papa John's Pizza. Alrighty. And we go to the banks. Alrighty. Skins said, assuming we are recasting the immortal classic Silence of the Lambs, who plays what roles, and why is Skins Buffalo Bill, and why does he give Aaron lotion to put on his skin while he is in the well? Interesting. If you see Silence of the Lambs, that seems like it's a pretty easy conclusion to the fact that would be what Skins is in regards to with Aaron in the Silence of the Lambs. Let me see here. See which one I think really would be me. I'm not Anthony Hopkins. I don't think I'd be a Hannibal Lecter by any sense of the imaginations. Maybe I'm Clarice, just the positive, trying to go out and figure out any way possible to solve these crazy times. Because I am an optimist. But I would be a little freaky to go out there, but let's roll with that. I'm Clarice, and it is something that I would have to do. Aaron just sent me a message saying he had to reset the router. So I'm going to have to filibuster until he's back, and then we'll probably shut this one down. Let's see here. Next question. Finish out the mailbag. In honor of Father's Day, who is the greatest dad to ever show up in a TV show and or movie? Oh, man. This is a good one. Father figure. I'm trying to think of recent shows or movies that I have watched that had a prominent father figure. Walter White, Skins, throwing that one out there, staying on the same path of interesting ways to involve Aaron. I guess if he's Aaron Paul, it'd be connection with him and Walter White. But father, greatest dad. Man, should have researched this a little bit before, but I can't quite think of one immediately. Dad. Whew. Let's see here. Trying to think of like a real heart-wrenching one where the closing is like, I love you, Dad. And it really pulls on the heartstrings, but I can't quite grasp one right now. Yeah. How about trying to stick with what's hot right now out in the pop culture world? Stranger Things. We will call Hopper. How about that? Hopper is one of the greatest dads on a TV show / movie. Hopper from Stranger Things. He is Papa. Well, he's not Papa. He's the dad of Elle. There you go. We'll throw that out there. Obviously, there's many more, but as it comes to the regular grouping of the pop culture right now, it'd be Stranger Things. We'll say Hopper. There we go. But I'm being told that Aaron had to reset the router. I'm getting out of there. Oh, okay. And that is it. Well, we're going to wrap it up. That right there was the BVP mailbag. And that was yet again another timestamp brought to you by Urban Artifact. Shout out to Urban Artifact. Key lime salsa drink is what I am drinking right now. And I am trying to figure out how to stop this. But it is live. And then Urban Artifact is the drink. And that was the fantastic BVP yet again. Special thank you to Andre Morgan, who was a fantastic guest. We're hoping to always have him back on again. And then aside from that, a special thank you as well to Danco Transmission, and a special thank you to the Urban Artifact for the timestamps. Yet again, go to Danco Transmission, get $10 off your next oil change, 10% off your next service. DancoTransmission.com. Yet again, for my partner, Aaron Smith, for Andre Morgan, special thank you, and for Chad Brendel enjoying himself a little vacation out there on the West Coast. I am Brent Young. It's another fantastic BBP presented by BearcatJournal.com. And Aaron should be closing it soon.